Hayden Locke, President and CEO of Marimaca Copper. We are developing the Marimaca Oxide project in northern Chile. It's a fantastic oxide project going to cathode. We're doing the DFS and the permitting, but we've just announced that we've acquired a new asset, which might raise some eyebrows. I can see your eyebrows rising.
They are magnificent eyebrows, and they did indeed rise when I saw it. Because like it's a great consolidation. But why do it at all? Surely you're focused on getting your the economic studies into FID and financing. Why now?
Yeah, it remains the focus, and there's always a risk of presenting yourself as being distracted from the primary objective, which we definitely don't want to do. We are very focused on delivering our permitting and our definitive feasibility study and then going into detailed design and engineering. But you'll remember when I've been on the show previously, I've talked about the two-pronged strategy to try and avoid that Lassonde trough, as we like to call it, is to continue with exploration. We've got an amazing exploration team. That asset is in the middle of probably one of our best targets in our whole land package. And when we reviewed it, there's a lot of data available. When we reviewed it, we see it as a very complementary addition to our resource base at Marimaca.
Infill acquisition, where what does that allow you to do, or what are you hoping this allows you to do? In fact, what do you even know about it?
We know a lot, actually. So we have a huge amount of data over that Sierra de Medina land package, and that's how this opportunity came up. We realized that through an acquisition, we had 41,000 meters of core sitting in our core shed, which related to that project. And so we were able to go back and relog all of the core and do our own DD on it and run our own internal resource model, which we've done. So we're now in the process of updating that and getting it into a 43-101 compliant. But I think we can say we're very confident that the historical number is relatively conservative, and we see some upside potential in that as we move to delivering delivering a resource on it towards the end of the year.
I know you've got to put out the 43-101 before you can make too many forward-looking statements, but what is it that you think you've now got, which you perhaps see from the previous owners or you previously thought?
Well, it's a high-grade, leachable resource, which is complementary to what we're building at the Marimaca Oxide project. What's really interesting about it is it's significantly higher grade than the average grade of the Marimaca. It's more like the first 5 years, which is the best part of our project and is the reason we have those exceptional economics. Our first 5 years is really stellar. The project then tails off and goes to slightly lower grade, slightly lower recoveries. So there's two ways we're thinking about this, and this is why we're sort of pausing the DFS for a couple of weeks just to think about how do we best design the DFS. Is, we have the potential to either increase our scale quite significantly. If you look at the acid solubilities of the historical resource and the amount of contained copper, it's somewhere around 300,000 tons of contained copper across those two mineral classes. Recoverable copper of north of 200,000 based on the acid solubilities. So that's an additional 20 years of copper recovery for 20,000 tons of copper recovery for 10 years. If you then combine that with our target of being a 50,000 ton a year producer, we could potentially be a 70,000 ton a year producer, or we can extend our mine life to more than 20 years. So just pondering whether we go for scale or do we go for mine life. Probably we go for scale, but we're just thinking about that now.
I mean, so much optionality here in terms of the way that you play these things. And I'm interested in the way that the market has kind of evolved and changed and probably gone full circle again in a positive, price environment, where it was always the case of let's build scale, demonstrate scale, and then kind of move through to, well, maybe we need to show we can get into production here. And that's the important factor for the market. And now, when you're quite close to demonstrating you can get into production, saying you've got this opportunity in front of you, how do you think the market's going to react to these sort of changing opportunities?
It depends on how well we explain what we're doing with it and whether or not we're getting distracted and, that we're not deviating from our original plan. So the Marimaca Oxide project is still the best project that we own, and it's still our number one priority. This is an amazing little add-on that just improves the quality of it. And I think we'll continue to explore. We're drilling at Mercedes. We're looking for shallow oxide mineralization there. And what we're trying to create here is the view that, okay, all of the unique characteristics of Marimaca, which is low capital cost, low execution risk, low permitting risk, low operational risk, all of that is still intact. And now we're going, okay, well, it's a small but perfectly formed project. We're going to try and grow the potential of that project and say, okay, we might be able to do 60 or 70,000 tons for an extended mine life.
Well, let's just take a look at the market. Like me as an investor, I'm looking around at the kind of copper plays available to me, certainly in terms of the development phase anyway. And one, there's not a lot of choice, which needs to be stated. Two, the very two types of plays here. One group of companies which will require a huge balance sheet and access to capital, and cheap capital at that, because they're deep down. These are multi-billion-dollar projects, and others which perhaps sit at the sort of lighter end of the capex scale. There, when you're talking to me now about the scale of the opportunity ahead of you, either through life of mine or increasing the pounds that you can produce out of the ground, does it change your profile in terms of additional strategic partners coming into this? Does it change your attitude to maybe this is something that we can offload to someone else? I mean, how do you view the play going forward?
Yeah, it definitely changes the interest levels from the super majors, because we start to become far more meaningful. They are very much, if you talk to a BHP, it's still sort of 70,000 tons a year plus for 20 plus years. Anglo might even be a higher threshold than that. But if you talk to the next tier down, Teck, Vale Base Metals, South 32, these groups would really find a very good home for 60 or 70,000 tons a year for 10 to 15 years. So yeah, absolutely. It opens up a whole new group of people who are interested. From our perspective as a management team, it probably makes us less, I guess, inclined to sell this, because it's still got all the unique characteristics that allows us to finance it ourselves. It's just a bigger and better project once we start incorporating all of these regional opportunities. So, it's probably becomes even more attractive from my perspective.
Right. Okay. So given you see the value, and your job is obviously to help people understand that value and how they should look at this. And as I've said, not a lot of optionality when it comes to copper. Copper prices going on a little bit of a rip up at the moment, and hopefully a bit more sustaining the last time earlier this year. You've been to a conference. You're in Toronto today, hence the backdrop there. What are you hearing? What are people saying with regards to the kind of limited supply optionality going forward, and where do you fit into that?
Well, yeah, you're right. We were at the RBC Junior Copper Developers Conference, which was really interesting. I'm one of the panelists who I think comes on your show quite a bit, the CEO of Hot Chili, made a comment that I think it was 60% of the potential new supply was sitting in that room. And one of the things that struck me was the vast majority really do require a major partner to come in and help them finance it, because we're not talking about $1 billion of capex. We're talking in many cases of 2.5, 3, or even if you're up in the high end with a mega projects, 8, 10, pick a number, multi-billions of dollars. But what they were saying yesterday is they're starting to feel that it's changing, especially with BHP making that first move into the Cunha district, and they're starting to see others jostling for position. And, we're hearing about the other majors starting to approach these companies. For us, it doesn't make any difference. We don't need any of those to finance, and, potentially Hot Chili is in a similar boat to us. But I'd say other than the two of us, the rest are very much needing to find that major partner to come in and de-risk their financing. So for me, it's business as usual.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see what speed the seniors start moving at. The tone has been set, which I think is the good news. In terms of the kind of macro dynamics, not much has changed there from the demand side, other than news out of China in the last 2-3 weeks that they're going to get going again. Anything else that came out of the conference from the banking side, because that's always interesting in terms of the way that they view this?
Yeah, well, I think that it's the same message that we've been getting, which is there is a high degree of interest in copper. Every mining company that's diversified wants more copper in their portfolio, but the actionable options are very thin on the ground. The things that they can actually comfortably invest in that they feel can be brought into production at these prices are very thin.
Okay, and right, okay. Well, we'll talk about the macro another time, I'm sure. Right, just closing off on this one, you're going to sort of take a couple of weeks out, just sort of review what you've got, assess how you go forward, and then you'll be coming back to the market and letting us know how you intend to proceed. So when can we look forward to hearing from you next?
So we'll be updating on drill results over the coming months up until the end of the year. We'll hopefully put out the updated resource, the proper 43101 for Pampa, so we can actually start talking about it properly. Then we're debating, do we do a standalone PEA just to quantify how this looks as a standalone basis? And so if we do that, it'll probably be early in the new year. We may just wait until after the DFS, but, we'll be updating regularly between now and the end of the year.
Okay, Hayden, look, appreciate it. I know you've got places to be in Toronto. Nice consolidation, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.